this time last year, it's kind of interesting that we did The Cross Has the Final Word and Speak to Me, because we did those last year just in a little acoustic set. We were in the middle. Were you here? Yes, ma'am. I love it. We were here recording my new album, and we were in one of the most chaotic and tumultuous seasons of our lives. You know, I shared a little bit about my sister's stuff yesterday, but I didn't go into the fact that after that, walking through grief with my sister, but yet trying to celebrate the life of what God was doing in my own belly, that was uncharted waters. You know, the trust that I had to have. You already can't see what's going on to be pregnant. And then to be pregnant when your sister has lost a baby that you don't really even know why. That's another level. And then to grieve with her and have to be really careful and ask the Holy Spirit, even little things like what to post on Instagram. I know that sounds silly, but you know, just little things that I wanted to I felt him kick today, and I really had to lean into the voice of the Holy Spirit to say, is this okay today? Or is this something that will trigger my sister and just wouldn't be the best? You know, it was just hard. And some of it was really hard because I was so disappointed that a season that I'd waited for so long, then I had to just overthink everything. And then the days where I didn't feel him moving very much, those were really hard days. I remember one time Cody and I were driving around Nashville to go and get a few things for the house that we had just bought. And I just was full of fear that morning because I kind of felt him move about the same time every day, but I hadn't felt him for an hour, later than it was the usual time. And I did jumping jacks. I tried to wake him up. I was just making sure. I probably looked like a crazy woman, but I was full of fear. I was crying my head off, and I was just moving my belly. And Cody's like, do we need to go to the hospital? My sweet husband took me to the hospital, to the ER 3 times, just so I could go hear my baby's heartbeat. Because the fear is real sometimes. But I had to dig deep into the trust that I had into the character of my God. And it's what got me through it. Because I knew enough about the character of God that I knew he had me. And I had to just dig into that. And I just want to share about that for a second. Something I think that is so sweet about timing is God gave us Canyon's name about a week before this whole chaotic season. We'd been just praying about it, and it was kind of funny. Any name I would come up with, he's like, no. I knew someone in high school named that. We're not doing that. So I was kind of running out of ideas, you know, and but I know I know there's a lot of destiny that we can speak over ourselves by what we name, what we call ourselves, what we speak of ourselves, what we're saying. And so I just wanted his name to have a lot of spiritual meaning. And so we were just really praying into it, and I had a dream one night, and it was one of the most beautiful dreams I've ever had. And I was in a canyon, and in this canyon, it was just so beautiful. It was really, really, really deep, and the walls of it were just gorgeous. And then I came out of the canyon into this landing, kind of like if you could imagine it, just a huge valley that was just full of green grass, just as far as you could see, just huge green, like a big green field. And coming toward me was like a tsunami wave of water in this dream, and it was coming towards me. And I remember in the dream, I wasn't fearful. I was full of expectation, which in the natural, if that was coming toward you, it would be very scary. But in the dream, I was so full of peace. And so as it came towards me, I turned. As it kind of got right in front of me, I remember turning, and when I did, it picked me up, and it started to carry me into this river. It started to move through this canyon, and as soon as it picked me up, I sprouted wings and began to fly up over the tumultuous, chaotic situation of the river. And I just love what Tim was talking about, because God is likened, his presence is likened to a river. you know? And sometimes we forget the fact that it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be tumultuous. It's going to feel like a storm. We want to be covered in the waves. We say, God, take us out into the ocean, into the deep of your goodness. But sometimes there's storms out there. And so I woke up the next morning and I told Cody about the dream, and I was like, what about canyon? And I remember Cody's look like, yeah. And we looked it up. It means, what does it mean? A deep ravine for water to flow through, for a river to flow. And canyons are formed by weathering storms. And a week later, he went through his first storm. And there was a knowing deep in my belly that he was going to make it through that storm because of the destiny that God had already spoken over his life. God knows what we need before we need it. He knows the timing. He knew the timing that my dad needed to have that experience with his own father. And I think sometimes we can get stuck in a place of disappointment, that it just steals from the trust that we're supposed to be walking in